Tiny whoop! It's a tiny whoop! Okay, we're going into second part of our little tiny whoop video. So, what can you do with a tiny whoop? How does it fly? What sort of batteries does it use? What can you do to it to make it a little bit better than what it was like when you first brought it? Alright, so generally there's two ways to fly these little things. You fly it in a stable mode where it's always going to restabilize itself. It's a really good mode to start on. In fact, with these little tiny drones, it's pretty hard to fly in a more dynamic mode because they're just so reactive and they jump around so much. So the other mode is called acro mode, and that is without any stabilization. When you push the drone, it'll just keep going that direction regardless of any sort of bounce back, so you are in full control. It's sort of it's really the goal of flying these is to be able to fly it yourself in acro mode. So it's what you aim towards, I suppose, but when you start off, flying in stable mode is hard enough. It's not an easy thing to fly these little things. So at the back here, you can see the little plugs, the 4 little plugs for the 4 little motors. You can just buy these motors. They're only a couple of dollars each, and there's a couple of different sizes, but they'll tell you what size they are, and they just slip straight in. The motors will spin opposite directions on each side, so you just have to make sure you put them in the right spot. They've got coloured wires to help with that. And then the camera on the front, again, the camera is probably about $30 and up, I suppose, if you want to spend a bit more. It works via radio frequency, so it's not going to be great reception, but there's no lag, which means that you're just having a one-on-one experience with flying this around, and you don't really have to worry about having little dropouts and things. A bit of noise and a bit of grain doesn't really ruin the experience. And this is just using a tiny little antenna, but there's an assortment of different antennas you can get to help with that as well. So at the back here, this is, I believe it's called a JS2 plug. It's slightly bigger than the original plug. Whoops, I'm out of focus. The original plug that came with these things. So the original plug had a problem, is that I'm not a technician, so I don't know what the actual problem was, but it wasn't drawing all of the power from the batteries, so you'd only get about 2 minutes of flight time before you need to change the battery, which sort of 2 to 4 minutes of flight time, sort of standard for any quad, because you scale the battery up and you scale the quad up and you still end up in the same spectrum of weight versus power. So via changing the plug on this, I got a realistic time of about 4 minutes per battery, and 4 to 5 minutes in any sort of quad with flying aggressively is reasonable. So the batteries are little LiPo batteries, a little lithium polymer. They come in a couple of different sizes. So I've got a 260 milliamp or 300. There's a slight weight difference between the two. It's hard to decide which one I like better. I think the 300 gives me a little bit longer flight time, but the 260, it just feels a lot quicker off the bat, like it's just the weight difference of the battery. I think the weight difference is about 1.5 grams or something. It's not much. And you can use different shells as well. So here's one that I 3D printed just on a standard type desktop printer, and it's pretty durable. I haven't done a lot with it. At the moment it doesn't have the internal bits that make it work. That all went into another one, wherever that one might be. This one here. So this is another one I put together. This originally, when I brought my goggles, I got given this little tiny whoop, but it was destroyed. I mean, it looked like it'd been run over by a car. Every one of the motors was sort of bent and twisted, and all the blades were broken. The camera was completely destroyed. Even the little transmitter for the camera was broken. Just the board survived, so I upgraded the motors from my other one and stuck the old motors in this one. Oh no, wait a sec, these are the gold motors. I think I got another pair of gold motors in this one. I think I got black motors in the other one. And you can see a little antenna sticking out here. That's the antenna for the actual board that is flown with the transmitter, and this antenna here goes straight to the camera. You just buy that as a single unit and solder it straight on the back there. Same with the JS2 plug. They're like $1 each, and you just solder it straight on there. It's pretty straightforward. I might go through that in another video, some basic soldering. Alright, cool. Quad! Tiny whoop! I think that's it for now. But wait, there's more. Okay, I'm just going to take you through now arming one of these, or getting it into the air and binding it to one of these and getting it linked up to one of these. Let's see how easy it is. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to get a battery. Let's just stick it in the back of our little tiny whoop here. There we go. Plug it in. Boop. Some little lights flashing, and we'll put it on a nice stable platform like that. Okay, we've got our transmitter here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the throttle is down. We're going to hold down this button on the top here, which is the bind button, holding it down, and we're going to turn on our transmitter. Now, I don't want to bind it right next to this, so you're better off doing it a couple of feet away. So I'll just move it back a little bit while I first bind it. So I'm holding the button at the top, the bind button, you see up here. Hold that down, turn on the power, and just wait. So there we go, bind complete. When it's bind complete, we can take our finger back off the bind button and wait. Now, it's still not going to do anything at the moment. We've got to turn the transmitter off and then just turn it back on again. Always making sure that the throttle's down to the bottom there. Alright, cool. Now, we've got all the lights on here are just stabilized and it's bound up. If I put a little bit of throttle on there, we get a little bit of throttle on the little quad. So next, we've got our goggles here. There's not much we really have to do for these. What we're going to do is we're going to plug them in. A little plug at the side. I hacked my little plug a bit so I could charge it because I don't have a charger for it. So we plug it in. Little lights are flashing, a little beep went. And now, when I look through here, I can see what the little quad's seeing. So, you're not going to see anything. But in there is a picture of what the quad's seeing. So if I put this on my head now, like that, and I grab this, where's my quad? There it is. Let me point it towards the camera. Oh wow, cool. I can see. Hey, I can see you guys. Okay. Now we get some acceleration. Way, there we go. Okay, so it's that easy. At the moment, have I got it on acro or? No, it's on stable mode at the moment, so it's pretty easy to fly around. Hey! Okay, let's see if I can do it again. Hey! Let's go for 3 times. No! Oh man, let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's do it again. Don't tell anybody.